How's it going, Algebra 1 students? Today we are doing lesson 6 on standard form. So go ahead and check off that part of your booklet since we're getting this done right now. Hop over to that page. Standard form. Well, what is standard form? Well, it's this equation here, ax plus by equal to c. And all it is, it's just one more way to write the equation of a linear function. So now we have a total of 3. You've got slope-intercept, point slope, and now standard form. So looking at this formula, you might think, well, what are these A, B, C things going on? Well, all that they are integers. So remember what integers are. Those are your positive and negative whole numbers. So we don't want any fractions for A, B, and C is the whole point of that. But they're just numbers. So move on down. Most of what we're going to do for standard form is use it to find our intercepts. So we've got our x-intercept and our y-intercept. So before we dive into that, let me just talk to you guys really quick about what our intercepts are again, just so that we're clear on what's going on when we're doing this. So we've got our x and our y-axis. And our y-intercept, remember, that is where we cross our y-axis. So it's some point on the y-axis, and the points on there, the x value is always going to be 0. And then we used b, or you can use y, whatever. But the whole thing is that x is always going to be 0 wherever your y-intercept is. Well, same thing for the the x-intercept. That is where we're going to cross the x-axis. So that is always going to have some value for the x, but our y value will be 0 there. So our y is always going to be equal to 0. So how we're going to use that is in our standard form equations down here. For our x-intercept, we're going to set y equal to 0 in our equation. So we're going to put 0 in for the y. And then we're going to solve for x. That'll give us the x-intercept. And that's because the x-intercept is where y is going to be 0. And then same thing for the y-intercept here. We're going to set x equal to 0. So we're going to put 0 in for the x value and solve for the y there. And that'll give us the y-intercept. So then let's go ahead and do that. So let's set y equal to 0. So we would have 2x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. So what happens then? 4 times 0 is just 0, so really that piece goes away. So all that we'll have is the 2x equal to 12. Then all we got to do, solve for x. So we need to divide by 2 on both sides. So x would equal 6. That would give us the point 6, 0 as the x-intercept. All right, let's go back and do the y-intercept now. So we want x to be 0, so we're going to plug in 0 for the x and have 4y equal to 12. So what happens there? The 2 times 0 part goes away because 2 times 0 is just 0. So 4y equals 12. That's what we have left. And then we've got to solve for y. So we want to divide both sides by 4. And then y would be equal to 3. That would give us the point 0, 3 for the y-intercept. Okay, so that's how we handle that. So let's do a couple more examples here before we move on. So let's find our intercepts for this one. We've got 9x minus 3y equal 18. So let's do our x-intercept. And we know that y is equal to 0 there. So all we would have is the 9x piece. So we would have 9x is equal to 18. Divide by 9. And then we would have x is equal to 2. That would give us the point 2, 0 for our x-intercept. And then let's do the y-intercept. And we know there that x is equal to 0. So all we would have left is the part with the y, but make sure you keep that negative. If it's minus 3y, it's going to be negative 3y when we get rid of that x part. So we'd have negative 3y, so we need to divide by negative 3 on both sides. And then y would be equal to negative 6. That would give us the point 0, negative 6 for the y-intercept. Next problem here. We've got 4x plus 5y is equal to 10. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's do our x-intercept. And we know y is equal to 0 there. So all we'll have is the 4x piece and then equal to 10. Uh-oh. If we divide by 4 on both sides, 10 isn't divisible by 4, at least not for a whole number, but that's okay. So 10 over 4 is going to simplify to 5 over 2. And then if you want to do the decimal, you can do that and have 2.5. It might be a better idea for the intercepts to do the decimals. That way you know where the point should go. So 2.50 would be our x-intercept for that guy. And then let's do our y-intercept. So we know that x is equal to 0, so the piece with the x is going to go away, leaving us just with the 5y, and that's equal to 10. So then we just got to divide by 5 on both sides, and then we would have y is equal to 2. That would give us the point 0, 2 on that one. Our next page, what we're going to do now then is graph the equations written in standard form. So same idea. We're first going to find the x and the y intercepts, and then we're going to plot them and connect the dots. So finding the x and y intercepts for 5x minus 3y is equal to 15. So our x-intercept, we know y is equal to 0. So we would have 5x is equal to 15. And then if we divide by 5 on both sides, we would have x is equal to 3. That gives us the point 3, 0. And then we got to find our y-intercept. Zoom in a little bit here. So our y-intercept, we know that x is equal to 0. So what we're going to have is negative 3y. Don't forget your negative equals 15. The x part is gone. Divide by negative 3 on both sides. That's going to give us y is equal to negative 5, which gives us the point 0, negative 5. All right, now we just have to plot those. So 3, 0 for our x-intercept. It's going to be here. And then 0, negative 5 for the y-intercept. That'll go there. And what's left is just to connect these guys. So that's kind of a bad line, but you can do better than that. Make sure you get a straight edge or something if you need to. But yeah, just connect those. As long as you clearly have those points marked, you should be good. All right, next example. We've got 4x minus y equals 4. So let's find our x-intercept. And we know that that means y is equal to 0. So what we're going to have is 4x. And the y part will be gone, so it'll just be 4x equals 4. Divided by 4. That gives us x is 1, which would be 1, 0 for our x-intercept. And then our y-intercept, where x is equal to 0, well, we know then that we would have negative y is equal to 4. Okay? And then make sure you're getting rid of that negative. That would give us y is negative 4. Okay, you can multiply by negative 1, divide by negative 1, or just think of doing the opposite. That would give us 0, negative 4. So 1, 0 and negative or I'm sorry, 1, 0, and 0, negative 4. So 1 for our x, negative 4 for the y, and then we just connect. And you're done. All right, our last thing then here is going to be that alternate method again, just like we did for the point-slope form, is getting this into slope-intercept form, and then you can graph it. So how we're going to do that, remember our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we're going to want to solve for y. So the first thing we're going to have to do is get rid of this 3x. Okay? So it's being added to 2y, so we want to subtract it from both sides. Okay? That gets rid of it here and leaves us with 2y on the left. And then we would have 8 minus 3x, okay? But remember, we want to get mx plus b. So what we're going to do is write the 3x part first, but it's negative, so make sure you keep the negative out in front. And then the 8 is positive. Then we're going to have to divide by 2. And when we do that, we want to make sure we're dividing everything by 2. So the 3x and the 8 both need to get divided by 2. So what happens then? Well, we just have y left, which is good because that's what we wanted. And then negative 3 over 2x, that becomes our slope. And then 8 over 2 leaves us with 4. So that's going to be that y equals mx plus b equation for that one that was given to us in standard form. All right, that's it for today. So make sure you're getting started on your assignment and asking questions if you need it.